What has given you the edge, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, so I think what would have given me my edge, as you call it, is the fact that I had no choice but to make it. I had a plan A and no plan B to fall back on. So to put it delicately, I was raised in an all-girl household, right? So my mother, she had me later in life, and I could see that she was starting to get burnt out. And it broke my heart, you know, because she was our sole financial provider. And I had 2 younger sisters. So what I did is I tried to keep the family business going. My mother was a veterinarian. She had her own practice. So in order for us to be able to pay off our home, to keep my 2 sisters in school, we all went to private school because my mother believed education is super important and she wanted us to have the best. So I made the decision that she needs to take the time to rest and rejuvenate because she'd been working so hard for almost 20 years. So I said that it's my turn to take the responsibility. So I applied to a lot of scholarship programs. These were ones that were available to Emiratis. We were blessed to have programs, and we still are, that pay you while they train you, and then you get the job at the end for sure. Okay. So I said I have to take this gamble on myself for the sake of my family. So that's the edge that I had. I didn't have a choice to fail because I had so many dependents. I wanted my sisters not to have the stress that I had about financials. So I made sure I made it into the program, and I persevered. I was lost after high school, and I've been very open about this in previous interviews and talk about it because I want students to know that all because you're in year 12 doesn't mean you need to know exactly what you're going to do for the rest of your life. So I was a little lost, and I decided to apply to every single program because I needed to find something. And then air traffic control stood out to me because it was the shortest amount of time you had to work. And then the salary at the end was more than the rest of the programs in comparison. So I decided that's the one I want. And if it works out, great. So the other programs I participated in the selection process. And when air traffic control came along, I decided that this is the one I'm going to make happen. So I went into the interview. I went in there, and at the time I didn't cover. Now I cover and wear hijab. And at the time I didn't cover. It was my choice, and I'm grateful that my parents were open in that way. And I walk in there with this like a neon yellow long sleeve top out of respect because it's covering me up, and these black jeans that I loved. And I had my hair in like a plait and like a choti, you know. Mm-hmm. So I went in there, I did the interview. I did the examination. So it's consisted of math, English, physics. I think these were the 3. And then afterwards, when I found out I passed, I did an interview and a psychometric exam. And again, this time I was prepared. I had a collared button-up top, and I wore my favorite jeans again that looked like pants. And I went into the interview. I straightened my hair so I looked more professional. And that's how I got into it. So I didn't have the choice to fail. And then later, years later, is when I realized the odds to get in were as low as 1%. And then I was curious about women, found out the percentage is 0.2%. I was like, wow, I've really achieved. So the edge was the fact that I had no choice to fail. Mm-hmm. And I made it through. I made it through the program. It takes 2.5 to 3 years, and I finished in 2 years and 4 months. Not that anybody was counting. And that was the edge. The edge was I didn't have the luxury to fail. It would have been nice to have other options, but there were no other options. So from 19 till 21, I worked extremely hard. Mm-hmm. I even told my mother, because she was going through a tough time, I was like, listen, Ma, you need to filter a couple of the things you tell me because I'm too empathetic and I can't focus when I'm studying. So when the toughest part of my training came along, we'd only check in to let each other know we're okay, and that's it. Because I needed to compartmentalize and focus for the long run. And now it's great. You know, my mom wakes up in the morning, she goes, does yoga, watches the sunrise, goes, rides horses, and she's living that retired life that I always wanted her to live. So at the end of the day, it was worth it. But that was the edge. It was having that responsibility, not only in controlling aircraft and having that responsible job, but the responsibility of my mother and my 2 younger sisters to take care of.
At what age was this, Jouhayna?
I was 19 when I got into the program, but that realization came to me 17 and a half, 18.
So you actually took the responsibility of becoming the breadwinner?
Yeah, I did. And I always used to work with her every weekend because she wanted to instill a work ethic in me in a really young age. So growing up, I always remember in the weekends, be at my mom's clinic, and I used to call myself her assistant because I couldn't pronounce assistant properly yet. And I was very proud. I was like this little kid with an afro, and I'm like, I'm her assistant. And I would like pat my chest like Tarzan because I loved him. So yeah, that's what I did. And then every weekend I would go with her as a preteen. That's where I realized I like taking photos. I love photography. So I would take pictures of all the animals to let the parents, as you call them, as I call them, let them know that their pets are okay. And I even created her like a Facebook page at the time. So there was that social media presence very early on about her business. And that's how we got more business in. But the real time I got into gear was maybe 17 and a half, 18. I was finishing off high school and I was in the British curriculum. So there's year 12 and 13.
Right.
So I decided that since the government recognizes year 12 as a graduation and I will get my high school diploma, that I'll stop there and not continue year 13, even though I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So when I had one more year of school, technically, I decided to leave with my diploma and work with her in her clinic. And in that time, I had the realization that becoming a veterinarian isn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And she wanted me to take over the family business, and I was good at it. I was helping her conduct business, and the advertising on social media before it was even a thing is what I started for her. So I loved it. People trusted me with their pets. You know, we were making a lot of money. And then I decided that it's not the path for me, and I need to find another way for us to make that money. So I decided to follow my own path and move out at the age of 19. I moved from Edgemont to Abu Dhabi. So it was a lot to go through at such a young age.
And to manage and get all the responsibility, did you ever get a chance to enjoy your age or be your age?
Not really. I feel like I was in high school and I had to take care of my sister. So I had a few friends that I would hang out with them, but I couldn't always be there every time everyone hung out because even though I'm ready to go out in my outfits, I would have to send a text message to my friends and let them know, well, actually, I can't make it out this time. And it would be very last minute because there would be something that happens in the house and I would have to be there to support my family members. So I didn't get to be a teenager when I was a teenager. And when I was 19, 20, I got into air traffic control and I decided the only thing I care about is making it. So for those 2 years and 4 months, I made sure that that's all I did. I ate, slept, breathed air traffic control. I lived like less than 5 minutes away from work to make sure that I was studying 24/7. Like even the lady at the Costa Coffee I studied at every single day is like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I'm like, I must continue. I must know everything. And it's important to do that because now, almost 10 years later, there are procedures that are still in my mind because I studied so well all those years ago. But procedures change, so it's not really helpful.
Right.
Yeah.